So touched on this at the beginning. Here's the articles for it. By the way, nice advertisement. Thank you, website, for that weird adult advertisement. Appreciate you.
Oh yeah.
I
Gotta
picked
love.
this article because I saw this today because I was looking up CLG stuff. TSM considers halting its esports operations, which did get some, validation here from another site. So TSM, being one of the old guard organizations for esports with League of Legends, obviously in North America, recently had a lot of funding from FTX. We know what happened with FTX, and
Yeah, sure do.
the number on the financial hit was 210 million in 10 years worth of naming rights. So now you no longer have that funding in your back pocket to leverage for building out all your various verticals for each game. Which, to be clear, I've heard this from multiple different people about esports. You're just losing money. There is no... I don't think there really right now is a path to profitability for esports. I don't. Because all the ways that they make money are not scalable. And what I mean is, like, actually advertising can be scalable really effectively. Like, look at YouTube. YouTube makes all its money on advertising. That's a scalable business model because advertising can just keep going. You can just keep going and going and going. Twitch, on the other hand, doesn't work on advertising because Twitch is stupid. But advertising is a way to leverage, like, big scalable money. But esports organizations don't actually get advertising money. They get sponsorship money, which is limited. That's super limited. So you're limited on your funding resources through content, prize money, and sponsorships. And content from the esports orgs can make a lot of money, but like we've seen with, like, FaZe Clan, for example, went public and they're not doing so hot going public. Content hit a plateau for them. Prize money is not consistent. You don't always win prize money. And sponsorships are limited. There's a plateau. It stops. You're not getting infinite sponsors, is what I'm trying to say. So TSM in particular, which, again, I found another source talking about this, might pause esports efforts, which is a big deal because they're in a lot of different games, League of Legends being one of them. And they had layoffs recently, so they laid off their staff, including their chief operating officer and their vice president have left. Apparently they stated they're stable and profitable, but I don't know. That seems like we're just trying to save some face here.
Yeah.
It's a little bit interesting that I'm seeing stuff about TSM possibly pausing their esports efforts, which segues me into the other part, which is that Counterlogic Gaming, a staple in League of Legends for the last, like, I want to say 10 years plus.
Yeah, 10 plus.
They're gone. They got acquired by NRG. And NRG is going to take their LCS spot. So CLG's just gone. They have lost their funding, I would imagine. They just don't have any more funding. Can't keep things going. So NRG, which is another organization, is acquiring them to take the LCS spot in particular, and CLG will just be gone. They'll be dissolved into NRG, which is that's a big deal. I mean, that's a really big deal. Being I think CLG being a pretty big org in League of Legends history, just going away is a big deal. One of the old guard teams. So the reason why I brought these up is Spoon Esports is in a lot of trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I think Esports is in a big heap of trouble because they took big money. So they took the big VC money, and the VCs quickly figured out wait a second. Why aren't you making more money? They're trying to implement tactics that they think might work, but I don't think it's working for esports because a lot of these teams are having trouble. I mean, TSM's having trouble, partly because of the FTX stuff, but Counter Logic Gaming's having trouble. FaZe Clan, which is a big org, they're having trouble.
I mean, yeah, I'm like, I don't know how an esports team like actually makes money. I know you kind of talked about it with like sponsorships and like prize money, but like they generally don't, like when their players like stream and make money off their stream, does that go to the org or does that just go to the player? Like, or is it a split?
If you're a content creator for an organization, let's say I was a content creator for TSM, I imagine the contract is TSM pays me some kind of like salary. And anytime TSM gets a sponsorship and sends it through me, I imagine they take a cut of that. So if it's like $1 million, they take, I don't know how much, maybe 20%, 10-20%, whatever it is. They'll take a percentage of the sponsorship that they would have given me. It's like having a manager, I would imagine. But the problem is also like League of Legends salaries have skyrocketed. So let's say I get a sponsor paying me like $5 million. Well, my 5 players cost me $5 million for League of Legends because these salaries are skyrocketing. And you have to operate the team. Like, so you have to have like I imagine they have like a house, they have to train. You have staff.
Facility,
you gotta pay your
coaches,
staff. You got coaches, you gotta pay your coaches, you got equipment, you got all this stuff that gets wrapped into it. And like, and also again, like I want to stress this, like sponsors are not, it's not going to scale you. You're not just going to go and make Monopoly money with sponsorships. You're not. So
part of the LCS, like not gonna cut of that. Like
there is revenue sharing now in LCS. I think there is revenue sharing now, but it's just like it's obviously not enough because CLG's gone. Not enough. There's just not enough there. And I have, I've seen other stuff talking about this where esports just doesn't. It's not profitable. You just lose money. So you have to really be willing to lose money and enjoy it. I think I just wanted to bring this in the news segment because I would say like 6 to 7 years ago, esports was like the big hot word. If you said esports, people just saw money in their eyes and like, oh, it's going to be like a multi-billion-dollar industry.
People want to invest.
It's got to go back to the drawing board. It's going to have to go back to the drawing board. I do think there is something lucrative there. I mean, like League of Legends in particular, has a lot of eyeballs, so they can make advertising.
I would be really surprised if at least like the League of Legends like East as a whole didn't make money. I would.
Oh no, it does.
By that,
I think LCS does make a chunk of money. Obviously, we don't know how much, but they get the broadcasting rights. Twitch buys broadcasting rights or something.
Yeah.
So they get paid for that. They get they get advertising through the actual, through the broadcasts. Like you get the State Farm analyst desk kind of deal.
Yep. They sell tickets. The
sell
tickets aren't very expensive, but they do sell tickets to the events.
Yep, they sell tickets to the events, which probably don't make them a ton of money, but it's something. Merchandise, you sell merchandise. I mean, more than anything, LCS, League of Legends Pro Scene is just a big advertisement for your video game. But in any case, I do think like the professional scene for League of Legends does make quite a bit for Riot to feel like, okay, we got to keep investing in it. But I think for the teams it's different.
Are kind of shit out. They're kind
of shit out of luck. Like, they're just shit out of luck here, which is really like unfortunate. I just don't think anybody's figured out a way to turn this into something so lucrative to be like a serious, like, big money business.
Because it's not like professional sports where you have like every team has their own stadium and you sell concession, like you go to a game at that stadium and they sell concessions and they sell tickets to that game and they sell merchandise,
and
all this stuff.
You sell more than that. You sell tickets, you sell merchandise, You have sponsorships and advertisements through the team,
Yep.
by the way.
Yeah.
You know, you have revenue sharing from the league, which is an interesting topic for NBA, for example. Like, a crappy team actually makes a crap load of money from all the good teams because
Yep.
the good teams pay the most money and they pay luxury tax. So the bad teams actually get money from that. So
I'm pretty sure
like,
MLB has revenue sharing
yeah,
too.
like for a sports organization, a sports league that's trying to be semi-competitive with that, you want to be able to give the teams that are not performing well some kind of opportunity to benefit from it. But yeah, like, I don't know, like for League of Legends, these teams, for esports teams, they're just, you don't make as much. You just don't, like, and you can't rely on prize money. So you have very little avenues for making money. And this is a big problem. I don't know what's going to happen. I imagine like things will still be semi okay, but we're definitely seeing like a big I'm going to call it a dive from esports. They're going to need another, somebody's going to have to get in, and they're going to have to figure out how to have like a renaissance to come back again.
Yep.
There's some struggle going on here.
Yep.
And I just don't.
We need some new ideas, new ways to make money.
We need ideas, and those ideas aren't like. I remember like a couple of years ago, a lot of these teams would be like, "We have a $50 million complex for our team," which is by the way, that's such a stupid fucking thing to do. By the way, your team barely makes money as it is, and you're like, "We're gonna have a $50 million complex." Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what?
Who are you impressing? It's a dick measure. It's a dick measuring contest.
It's just like, what are you doing?
Like,
why do you have a $50 million complex? Like, you don't make this much.
You don't have that money. Where you don't have money?
Like, what are you doing? Just like, go rent some office spaces and put your computers in it. I don't know. Like, you don't need this.
Yeah.
So like,
and then FTX was a big, like, the crypto stuff, and FTX was like a big esports sponsor, and they
they nosedived. And esports teams, I think, did go into crypto a bit, and that caused problems. So yeah, esports is in trouble, Spoon. I'm very curious to see what happens. But at some point, they need to have a like another renaissance. There needs to be some other renaissance that happens, because I'm just not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel right now for a lot of these guys. But we'll see.
Like, the big leagues themselves seem stable, but the teams are not doing well.
I think the leagues are okay.
I don't think it's gonna go away, but the teams are gonna need to find ways to make money.
They got to figure out. They got to figure it out. They got to figure out what they need, what they're gonna do, because they don't have the same number of revenue sources as like an MLB team or a basketball team or a football team.
Yeah.
Your revenue sources are different. Which, by the way, those sports teams have the same kinds of revenue sources, but they also have other things that they do to make money. I don't know. There'll be another renaissance, I imagine, in a couple of years. Well, somebody's going to figure this out, and they'll be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get another revenue source in to make more money, but they're not there yet. So anyway, that was all I wanted to talk about with this. Like, esports is kind of in a poor spot right now for me, because I do sometimes keep tabs on it, but yeah, not as much of an enjoyer as I was like 3 or so years ago. So let me go back to the other screen real quick.